Imagine deciding that for the next 30 days, your spending would stop at the absolute essentials. No new gadgets, no midnight online orders, and no small rewards to get through a long afternoon. In 2026, millions of people began making this specific choice. This shift emerged as a reaction to a specific kind of exhaustion. Even with stable employment and savings in the bank, the sheer volume of managing new possessions began to feel like a second job. People chose to freeze their spending to reclaim the mental space that constant acquisition had taken over. For centuries, the human relationship with goods was defined by scarcity. You bought a tool or a coat because the old one failed, and the transaction served a clear physical purpose. Modern consumption has moved away from that physical utility. Today, the exchange is less about the product and more about our time. We are trading our daily focus and mental energy for the act of browsing and buying. Retailers now operate within an attention economy. Their primary objective is to capture user focus, knowing that if they can hold your gaze long enough, a transaction becomes almost inevitable. The digital landscape is built with specific environmental friction. Flashing countdown timers, hyper-targeted product suggestions, and instant notifications are tuned to find users at their most vulnerable moments, usually when they are bored, lonely, or mentally depleted. These triggers bypass logical planning and lean on emotional impulses. Spending becomes a way to regulate a mood, providing a momentary distraction from a stressful day or a quiet evening. That emotional relief is intense, but it rarely lasts longer than a few minutes. Once the initial spark of the purchase fades, the underlying stress remains, leaving the consumer ready for another round of shopping to find that same relief again. Look at Mason. He arrives home after 10 hours of meetings and emails, feeling the weight of a high-pressure week. His brain is searching for an easy win, something to signal that the day is over and the rewards have begun. He spends $50 on a piece of technology he didn't want 20 minutes ago. For a brief moment, choosing and buying feels like taking control of his environment. This is a classic case of negative reinforcement. Because the purchase successfully soothes the immediate tension of his stress, Mason's brain records the transaction as an effective solution for emotional discomfort. The flaw is that the purchase doesn't address the actual source of the stress. As soon as the novelty of the checkout screen disappears, the tension returns, and the cycle resets, often with the added weight of buyer's remorse. When this loop repeats night after night, the brain builds a shortcut. Eventually, the urge to buy becomes an automatic reflex triggered by any negative emotion, making the habit feel impossible to stop. The modern retail environment relies on this human tendency to seek quick emotional exits. Our most exhausting days provide the most reliable data points for targeted sales. Most of us assume the greatest satisfaction comes from finally owning the object we've been tracking. The biology suggests something different. Looking at dopamine levels during a purchase reveals that the peak reward happens during the act of hunting. Scrolling through options, comparing prices, and waiting for the confirmation email provides a higher chemical spike than the product itself. The moment the package is opened and the item becomes a permanent part of the home, those dopamine levels drop sharply. The mystery and the anticipation are gone, often leaving a person feeling more depleted than they were before the search began. To fix this sudden drop in mood, the brain immediately begins looking for a new target to focus on, restarting the search to recapture that high of anticipation. Digital storefronts are optimized to fit this biological rhythm. They keep the user in a state of perpetual looking, ensuring the next dopamine spike is always just one more click away. By 2026, the cumulative weight of this cycle pushed millions toward a hard stop. A 30-day freeze on non-essential spending acts as a way to force the brain's reward system to find a new baseline. The first step involves looking at the trigger itself. When the urge to spend hits, people in this movement practice identifying the specific feeling behind it. If the root cause is burnout or isolation, they look for a direct solution rather than a commercial distraction. Another strategy is the 48-hour cart rule. By putting a mandatory 2-day gap between finding an item and buying it, the initial dopamine spike from the hunt has time to settle, allowing a person to see the item without the chemical fog of anticipation. A full month of needs-only spending provides enough time for the brain to stop associating stress with shopping. It breaks the habit by removing the reward. Resisting the impulse to buy isn't about testing your character. It's about recognizing the biological buttons that are being pushed and choosing to disconnect them. The initial days of a spending freeze are often uncomfortable as the brain looks for its usual distractions. But as that noise subsides, a different kind of energy takes over. The real gain for those who step back isn't just a higher bank balance. It's the return of their attention and the ability to move through the world without feeling like every screen is trying to claim a piece of their focus. In an environment designed to turn every emotion into a transaction, the most significant thing you can own is your own peace. The ultimate luxury is the ability to walk away from the cycle and simply keep what you already have.